Hey, I welcome you to this channel. I'm Mr. Review, and this is Save Your Money Reviews. Today we'll be going over a few quick takes on movie news and shows. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. All right, so The Batman has released on March 4th, so it's been out for quite a while. It has a total box office number at this point of $735 million, which isn't bad at all for a movie, that came out at the time it has come out at. That's not bad at all as far as total numbers. Of course, a lot of the studios, movie studios, they look for more of a domestic number, of course, as a big part of what's considered successful and not successful in the movie industry. So for that movie in particular, that's not really a flop. It's not anything to brag about either. I'm sure Warner Bros. Brothers would have liked to be at $1 billion at this point with the movie, but um, with those numbers, it's not considered a failure whatsoever. But at the same time, it may lead to Warner Bros. Rethinking they would want to go continue on with the sequel to that, or to reboot the Batman movie franchise again, which they did recently with this one. Of course, is considered a reboot, a recast as well. As everyone knows, Ben Affleck was originally cast as Batman for the start of the DCEU. He took the role on a few movies that were, of course, within that universe. You have Batman versus Superman as like the intro movie for him, and then he kind of continued it on. You can see a little bit scenes on Suicide Squad, which was directed by David Ayer, which I felt like there were very good scenes for just something so small and minimum. It was pretty much just one of the beginning part of that movie. It wasn't anything long or dragged out or part of that original story for that movie, which kind of felt like they rushed the recast for him, because why would you recast a part, in my opinion, that was played minimally? There's no way to really review and see if he's a good Batman or bad Batman or great Batman. With the amount of material they gave him to work with, it wasn't very much. It was pretty minimum. I'd say the biggest time you really got a chance to see his Batman do anything was, of course, on the Batman versus Superman movie. Of course, he's in Justice League too as well, which obviously is a shared role. It's not where it's focused on Batman. It's multiple superheroes at that point. So you really never got a chance to really see Ben really fulfill the role, really give you his full idea and concept of the character. There's no way you can really write too much of that in there in order to flesh out the character completely, with the amount of screen time and the amount of emphasis on his character that they have given him throughout those films. I feel like that was a bad part on DC for introducing us to a new Batman and not giving him a exact chance or a big opportunity to show us what he can work with or what he can do with him. I personally feel like throughout those films, with the little bit he had to work with, he did a great job. And also, his Batman was the most intriguing Batman I've seen since, in my opinion, is of course Michael Keaton back in the original Batman's Batman, and then also Batman Returns. I felt like Michael Keaton's Batman was like very accurate to the character and exuding the energy that you would want from Batman slash Bruce Wayne. I know a lot of people were really big on Christian Bale's Batman with the Batman Begins, and of course the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises. A lot of people feels like that was the best movies for Batman since the beginning to now. In my opinion, I beg to differ. I felt like the second and third one of those films were pretty good, but the first one initially was okay. The second one was kind of mildly good. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't nothing to brag about. Then the third one, I felt like had the most challenging moments for Batman. That's why it's one of my personal favorite, with bringing in the Bane character. Of course, the Joker on Heath Ledger's Joker on, the second Batman. That was, of course, a legendary performance that you can't take that away. I think he made that movie what it was, more so than the actual character of Batman. So that's the reason why I'm just speaking specifically on Batman as a character in films, and also the actor that's portraying Batman on film. I feel like some of those villains maybe outshine actual Batman within that universe that Christian Nolan set for, of course, The Dark Knight and Batman. Again, he did a great job, I felt like, as far as restoring the legacy of Batman with films, but it was nothing for me personally to feel like I wanted more of that exact Batman, that exact director's vision, things like that. But the take and direction they went with Ben Affleck's Batman, I feel like was something we haven't seen yet. a more weathered, older, tormented Batman. And in a sense, a more darker Batman. His Batman used weapons, had more of a mystique to him, a little bit more of a savageness to him, which I felt like we haven't seen on film yet. We have seen, of course, aggressive moments from those Batmans in the past, but nothing real cold as Ben Affleck's Batman, in my opinion. And if you guys are not too sure what I mean, I would say check out some of those films that I went over, which is Batman versus Superman, Justice League, of course, the intro to Suicide Squad. Check those out and kind of just pay attention to how, you know, up forward and front and blunt that Batman is versus, previous versions of Batman. Even Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, I feel like stood out a little bit more than, of course, Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne. It just seemed a little bit more authentic. He represented the pain and kind of that PTSD-ish thing with this current Batman and what he's been through, even though, unfortunately, we have yet to get to see exactly the story of this Batman from Ben, because, again, they haven't given him a full fledged film to flesh out the character, let you know what he's been through. Of course, there were some scenes where you seen Robin's suit encased with the Joker's laughing with the spray paint, the ha ha ha. So it kind of shows you at this point something happened to his Robin, but again, it doesn't really flesh out the details. I also like his Alfred for this universe that they have for the DCEU with the Ben Affleck's character. But again, we haven't got a chance to really see a full dynamic and full fleshed out relationship between the two. Again, I like what I did see in the shortcomings that we did see. With that being said, in relation to the Joker as well, I know Jared Leto got a lot of slack for his version of the Joker, but in my opinion, just looking at the fanfare for it, think about Halloween of that year, how many fans or even people in general that probably isn't fans of Batman wore him and Harley's costumes for that year. The numbers, I'm sure, is extreme and high volume for a Joker and Harley combo for costumes for Halloween. So to me, that expressed that fans love this version a lot, for to see so many different versions and costumes of this Joker in particular. Now, of course, the Joker is more of a modern day Joker, more of an up to date Joker. Got a lot of slack, but again, I feel like there wasn't enough screen time for Jared Leto to even give you his full take, full vision of this Joker. But I do believe he was the most accurate to the material as far as joking / serious. And again, if you guys want to get more details on my take and opinion about the DCEU, also the Joker, Jared Leto, and then also Ben Affleck's Batman, I do have a previous video that I put out that you guys can go back and check out for a little bit more details and also my take and opinion on the DCEU and what happened, what went wrong. Great stuff. If you guys want to go ahead and check that out, it's certainly in my videos. So I don't want to get use too much of this video to go over that, because I feel like I pretty much explained a lot of that and elaborated on a lot of that stuff. But I say all that to say that the Batman that recently came out, again, Warner Brothers wants that movie to do probably $1 billion by now, and it has not done it yet. Now, it may eventually do it over time. That is a possibility, but I don't think at that point Warner Brothers would see that as a success, complete success, but also not a failure. If you really think about it, even their solo Joker movie did about $1 billion, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So they felt like that was definitely a success. You can tell it was meant to be a standalone film, but they end up making it. They end up talking about putting out a sequel, so we may get a sequel, a Joker 2. In my previous video, I also go over the DCEU, but also the Joker, that film in particular, and then also just my take on that Joker versus previous Joker. So if you guys again want to check out some of that in more detail, check out my previous videos and video that I posted with that, and you'll get more information on my take on the Joker, that movie, and then also what I thought about the DCEU with that particular Joker. But moving forward, I felt like that Joker, of course, I have a theory in that video. If you go check it out, so you'll see more in-depth information on that Joker that I feel, and then also my theory on that Joker. But they did bring out that Joker version, and that film did great as far as number-wise for them. That's why they're bringing out a part 2. Again, I believe that was supposed to be a solo movie, but due to the success, they felt like they had to do another one, a sequel to that film, which I'm always interested to see what they decide direction they decide to go with. But I also understand that a standalone film usually doesn't create a great sequel, in my opinion. So we'll see what they do. It feels a little forced, more of a cash grab, in my opinion. But we don't know until it actually comes out. So again, back to the Batman, I believe since it didn't do those type of numbers, which I think they were hurtful that this one would do due to the fact of who they cast as Batman. I mean, regardless if you feel like he's a good Batman or a good Bruce Wayne or not, he still has a pretty solid fan base due to the Twilight films he did. So it was a safe bet casting him as Batman as far as numbers wise. They knew he was going to do something, but of course, I think according to them, they felt like if you combo that his fan base with the fact that this is a Batman character, that automatically they're going to win and the film would do great. But I believe they were wrong with that take and analysis of how well the film would do by casting him as the new Batman. I don't think it did the numbers that they were hoping it would do due to those, that analytic view. I don't think they really went for the best Bruce Wayne or the best Batman. I think they went for what is the most safe pick and something that's going to automatically make the film do numbers. But as I keep telling Hollywood itself, it's not about the actors, it's not about the name, it's about how good the film is. Sometimes you can get away with that cheap stuff, but most of the time, if the film isn't $1 billion film, then it's not going to do $1 billion most of the time. Again, there's sometimes where they get lucky, of course. That happens with anything in life, but for the most part, the history speaks for itself. If you make a great film, usually people will go out and support it, rather it be through advertisement or word of mouth. Usually, word of mouth is like the biggest way to make money. Once someone see a great film, they tell their friends or family about it, and then they tell their friends or family about it, and it continues to go on. And that's on top of the pay for promo that they do each time for a film. So you can't lose whenever you have a great film, but anytime you try to cut corners, there's a high possibility you're not going to do the numbers you think you're going to do, or at least not get the results that you really were looking for. So again, I think DCU, DC itself, with the films, the Warner Brothers, they need to rethink their approach on filmmaking. They need to rethink their approach on quality. They need to rethink their viewpoint on how to get sales for that. DC is a very, very, very rich comic series. Is a very, very rich backstory, history, characters, all the things they have right there are $1 billion stories. But again, I don't think they know how to quite implement it on film at a level where the fans can be pleased with it, at the level that Marvel has done with their films. Again, it doesn't have to be like the Marvel films. It just has to be at that level of storytelling, that level of fanfare, that level of action, the level of comedy, or written a certain way. It doesn't even have to be pure comedy, but if it's written a certain way where it's likable, tasteful, has charisma, things like that, character to it itself, the film has character, then it's going to do well most likely because you already have a fan base that's following those characters and those stories. So it's really just a no-brainer. It's just about getting the story right, getting the characters right, and then you'll see success. But again, I think Warner Brothers is trying to cut corners by getting certain actors or certain gimmicks to kind of try to get films to take off, and that's not really the way to longevity. So that's what I believe why this film didn't do the numbers that they expected to do. Of course, I believe at this point they're just trying to wait to see how far it gets or how far it does, how well it does. But I'm sure at this point they're waiting so long to announce a second one or sequels because they're not sure if that's the route they want to go. Now, don't take this for law or anything, but rumors are spreading that Ben Affleck is going to end up taking over again as Batman, and that Robert Pattinson is stepping down as Batman. I'm not sure exactly why, but some of the rumors and reasons is that filming the Batman for Robert Pattinson wasn't a great experience for him, nor with the director. So he's going to supposedly step down. And at this point, there's talks that they're possibly going to bring Ben Affleck's Batman back into the universe. I don't know if you guys know, but there was talks about Ben Affleck getting a TV series Batman, where they can just focus literally on that Batman instead of a solo movie. They're going to do a TV show on streaming services, I believe on HBO. But of course, that fell through when it was known that Batman was being recasted. So at that point, they really didn't continue on what will happen with that show. But there was talks of a show coming with Ben as Batman. So that may still be a possibility if he does return as Batman, a TV show, which we never really seen a serious take on Batman in like a certain universe with a TV show. I think that would be a great approach, especially with Ben's Batman, because there's so much backstory they can do as far as fleshing out what happened to him, what he's been through, what kind of made him transition and start using weapons, and what happened to the Wayne's Manor. If you really pay attention to the Superman versus Batman, you'll see that it looks burnt down, tore down in a bad way. If you guys don't remember that, go ahead and check that out. But that'll give us, I believe, a great entertaining story on what happened to him up to this point, and then of course continue on what's going to happen next to him. Also, his version of the Joker, what they've been through, their little beef, some of their previous experiences leading up to now. That would be great. And again, I believe Jared Leto would be a great Joker if they gave him more screen time. Of course, we haven't seen enough yet, but I think that's always an open door and possibility to bring him back. So are you guys excited that Ben is coming back as Batman possibly? Would that to you be a great thing or a good thing? Let me know in the comments. If you, would like to see Ben. I know personally I would because of the short, notice that they gave him to perform the role and show you what he can do. We didn't really get enough material, in my opinion, to make a judgment. I know some people didn't like him as Batman. Some people loved him as Batman. Of course, one of the people that loved him as Batman and his Bruce Wayne in particular, the way they wrote him and also what they were trying to, pursue on screen for that Batman. I think it was very interesting because we haven't seen a story like that of Bruce Wayne / Batman. So they had a lot of open leeway to do something different, show us something different, refreshing, older age Batman. And just to kind of throw this in there, over a few movies, they could have at that point made him an older Batman and brought in Terry McGinnis as the Batman Beyond and kind of let Ben Affleck play more of a teacher's role and training a new Batman to take his place. That would be a great story and lead up to a solo Batman Beyond movie. That would probably be amazing, incredible. The fact that she went through this journey with the last bit of few years with the older Batman, and now you're getting into kind of a remake of Batman, a new Batman, a futuristic type Batman with technology. That would be great to kind of lead into a Batman Beyond movie because I've heard rumors that they wanted to kind of do a Batman Beyond movie, solo movie. So that would be a great leeway into it instead of just coming up with a random Batman Beyond movie. So if you guys agree with that take and that opinion, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree or would be excited for that approach for Warner Brothers to do. Moving on, next topic. Want to talk briefly about the DCEU and what I believe they should do next, and just a little bit more so on the best direction, in my opinion, to go with that in order for it to flourish a little more than it did previously. Also, again, I have a previous video where you can check out more of my details on what went wrong with the DCEU. But in this video, I'm just going to pretty much touch bases on what they can do moving forward in order to right some of the wrongs they did. So number one, I believe that they should stop rushing so many of the stories to try to bring up the Justice League. I know, I applaud the fans for supporting Zack Snyder to release his cut of Justice League. I think that was one of the greatest time in movie / comic book history for us to get two versions of the Justice League, one from the studio, of course, and one from the director himself. I think that's an amazing, incredible thing that the fans have promoted and allowed to happen because it wouldn't be possible without the fans. And of course, Zack Snyder was excited to kind of give you his take, his cut on that film and what he had planned for it to be as far as his vision, knowing that he started out the DCEU itself. It's only right for him to kind of complete and get his vision out there. Just a quick take on that Justice League. I feel like a lot of fans, of course, have liked his and preferred his version over the original version that was released. My opinion is this. I did watch both versions of the Justice League. Both of them have their own problems. The first version, of course, didn't really correlate with everything we experienced prior to leading into that film. I feel like he missed the mark on that. I feel like his editing job, as far as cut the scenes and how the length, things like that, he did okay with. Some of the scenes he added in there were good, weren't bad. I think some of the stuff he took out is what made his version a little flawed because, again, it didn't really expand that universe or give us a full-scale picture of that universe. And let's be honest, the CGI for the villain on there looked very, very cheap and messed up. So he didn't look complete as well. And then, of course, they didn't have Darkseid in that version of the film either. And then, of course, the ending was a little lackluster, in my opinion, for the first version of it. Zack Snyder's version, again, I feel like it was a more complete picture. I think he did some great things with the characters individually. Again, some of the scenes that I feel like were in the original film should have been in Zack Snyder's version. Of course, he wanted it to be true to what he put on film, but I think a blend of both films would have made the film a little bit better overall. Because again, I think Zack was missing a lot of things, and of course, the original release I feel like was incomplete as far as the vision he went with wasn't complete. That's why he needed Zach in order to make it complete. And then I think it would have been an overall better film. And as far as Zach, his editing skills hurt that film, in my opinion. The new release of Justice League, that film was extremely too long in all the wrong ways. I don't mind a long film. It could be 2 to 3 hour film. I don't mind that. It has to make sense. It has to connect greatly. It has to, the pace has to be great or good pacing. And he didn't do any of that on that film. It was very, very bad editing job. Some of the scenes were stretched out way, way, way too long. A lot of dialogue was not important or relevant to the film or characters that help build that universe or even help some of those characters flesh out a little more to the audience. It was just a lot of randomness, in my opinion, and very music video-ish as far as a lot of the stretched out scenes with music and things like that. It just didn't make any sense of how long some of those scenes were and some of the information and dialogue he decided to have for those characters. I think Zack Snyder is a great director on an overall sense, definitely with action sequences with fighting with superheroes. He's probably the GOAT, probably one of the best I've ever seen do that. He's amazing at those scenes. He does a great job. I think that's his strong point. His weak point as a director is editing, and he's not the greatest storyteller either, in my opinion. He kind of lacks at that, and more so on the dialogue part of it, and the progression of the story with dialogue. If you guys want to understand what I mean, go back and check out Batman versus Superman, and you'll see story wise how bad that film is. Characters, I feel like he did an okay job with. It's just more so the storytelling and the direction and the plot he decided to go with. And again, the dialogue he decided to use for some of the characters just weren't interesting. It wasn't where it needs to be in order for the audience to be fully entertained. I think he has to work on those things, or at least hire someone to write some of his scenes for the film. With the combination of him having a co-writer and also a co-director as far as those particular scenes. I mean, his angles, his shooting, his photography, all those things were great. Or cinematography, I'm sorry, let me correct myself, were great. I think for those films, I don't think that's as big as an issue. I think it's just the dialogue itself. And if he could have someone to kind of co-direct that or co-write that, I think his films would be much, much better. And moving forward for the DCEU, I believe they should definitely get Zack Snyder back on board because, like I said, no one shoots superhero scenes better than him or sequences better than him when it comes to the action scenes and things like that. I think he gets those perfectly right. I just think he just needs someone to kind of help with the writing process of the story arc and then also the character dialogue. Once he gets that, I think he'll be a great fit to put back in the DCEU to get that restarted. So I do want to see Zack Snyder return as a director for the DCEU, but I don't want him to have the same responsibilities as he had prior, and a lot to do with that is what I explained. But I think he's great for the universe as a whole, and I feel like he will flourish if he gets the proper help in order to make some of those movies a little bit better and fulfill their fullest potential. And again, it starts with the writing to it and the dialogue to it. As far as sequences, pacing, things like that is great. It just is editing and how he decides to pace the scenes based off of his editing is what hurts his films the most. So that's my intake on the DCEU. I believe they should bring back, of course, the original Superman. I think they should bring back the actor for Ben, of course, for Batman. Also, I like, of course, the Wonder Woman actress. I also like the actor for Aquaman. So they have a great, thing going. They just have to fix what I just explained. Also, Flash, great actor, great. He fits the character greatly, the way they represent Flash. But the actor himself is going through some things, I believe, and mentally and emotionally, they need to get that fixed too if they want to continue on with that Flash, because it looks like he's on the path to self-destruction as far as being an actor in Hollywood itself and then also being the Flash itself. So they have to work that out first. But I like the actor personally as Flash. I think he does a great job. Of course, they should be coming out with a Flash solo movie soon, which is one of the best storylines in DC comic book history. So if they do that properly, that movie will be a no-brainer, a hit. So hopefully they're able to get that done properly and present that the right, proper way. All right, beautiful people. Don't forget to like and leave a comment. Let me know what you're excited for and maybe some upcoming stuff that I missed. Again, let me know your opinions as well, as far as maybe some of the things I touched on, or maybe some things you have as far as opinion overall with the DCEU or anything related to the topic we talked about today. Have a blessed day, guys, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for the latest in reviews, news, and updates. I'm Mr. Review, here to help you save, never lose. Toodles.